In this lecture, we would like to discuss about Mao Zed Dung, the brutal dictator who established the Communist Party of China and established the new Chinese state. And as he was called as the brutal dictator that we found from the estimates of mass line that he was talking about, and also of initiative coming from the people, the very massacre of political opponents of China, as the Soviet estimate was around 26.4 million people were massacred by Mao during 1949 to 1965, and an American estimate provided that almost 30 million people having been killed between 1949 and 59, and the estimates exactly could not be predicted, and as such we found the very massacre of political opponents or the counter revolutionaries could be estimated several million persons had been killed in China by Mao Zedong for holding the power, and those who are not in conformity with Mao and his line would have been killed in China, and almost all the estimates we found number of counter revolutionaries in China were thrown into prisons and labor camps by 1959, and it was estimated almost more than 35 million people. So Mao Zedong was definitely the opinion that the only method of resolving antagonistic contradiction was the method of violence. So Mao Zedong was having faith in violence as the instrument of social change. So that we found from his speech of 1927, and also in that particular speech, Mao expressly expressed his opinion that it was an act of violence whereby one class overthrows the authority of the other. And according to Mao, political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Anything can grow out of the barrel of the gun. So, according to him, even people ridicule the very system adopted by Mao, but he advocated the theory of the omnipotence of war, and the very theory of omnipotence of revolutionary war. The working class and toiling masses could not defeat the armed bourgeois and landlord except by power of the gun. In this sense, We could even say that the whole world can be remodeled with the gun. War could only be abolished through war. In order to get rid of the gun, we must first grasp it in hand. So, this very thinking of Mao Zedong in his aim to establish a communist state in China, we found Mao was a brutal dictator in spite of his mass line thinking. And in regards to that, would like to discuss certain of his concepts developed by Mao to establish a communist state in China. The very concept that developed by Mao was the concept of people's power. So Mao Zedong succeeded as against Chiang Kai-shek's failure in China was due to his fusing the two revolutions that were going on in the country. The nationalists against the imperial power and the democratic, as Mao called it, against the feudal landlords. Mao regarded them as interrelated, simultaneously mutually exclusive, and yet mutually interdependent, unless the rule of imperialism was overthrown. The rule of those feudal landlords also could not be ended. So, from this very foundation, he started his political line, and in that connection, would like to discuss his techniques that he followed in the earlier period of his consolidation of political power in China. And those techniques were to bring a certain area under the political, military, and administrative control of the Communist Party, to introduce preliminary land reforms there, to help the people in their daily lives with welfare activities and win their full support, indoctrinate them in the principles of communism, give them military training to as large a section of the population as possible, and to establish an emotional identity between the people and the party and its fighting forces. These techniques, known as the Mao Zedong line, was followed with equal success. But the very role of masses, as conceived by Mao, where he laid emphasis and developed certain new ideas. And one of the first major efforts in that direction was made in the ratification campaign of 1942, which aimed not only at giving basic training in the ideology of Marxism Leninism to a large number of people from all classes, but also at indoctrinating them with Mao's own interpretation of Marxism. And the second attempt he took by the campaign against the counter revolutionaries in 1951 and 1952. So also, it took the next initiative like the 3 anti and 5 anti campaigns against the businesses, finance, and industrial circles in the year 1951 to 53. And he started a second campaign against the hidden counter revolutionaries. So also, Mao launched the 100 Flowers Blossoms campaign and the anti-racist campaign. And finally, the Great Leap Forward movement, launched in 1957 with a view to overtaking advanced capitalist countries like the United Kingdom. So also, we found the very estimate that for that he had sent 100 million people to work on water conservatory projects, and also he called it as the battle of iron and steel, as he termed it. Involved the collection of iron ore and coke from all possible sources and the manufacture of steel in the backward. And the Cultural Revolution of 1965 to 1966 was an effort in the same direction, though of the largest magnitude. Whatever the Cultural Revolution might have achieved, Mao had strongly expressed the opposition and the very opinion that there will inevitably be many more such cultural revolution in the future. And as such, Marx was believing essential in the revolution in the countryside and by the rural masses. And according to Mao, this would only possible giving a permanent character to the revolution, which was the only way to remove the contradictions existing between the various classes of the society, also between the government and the society as a whole, and between the leaders and those who they led. And in that connection, Mao started setting off people's commune, which were based on the idea that the peasants, rather than the working class, formed the true vanguard of the revolution. And that came out of Mao's basic philosophy that wood was more important than knowledge and action, was more important than theory. In fact, ability to mobilize man had always been regarded as more important in China's revolution than technical knowledge. Mao also made an effort to reassert his leadership of the Chinese Revolution over the leadership of the Communist Party, which was we found in the year 1962, where exactly Mao expressed that People within the party were in authority and were making the capitalist rule as the target of the socialist education movement, which was declared and described as an effort to bring about political, economic, organizational, and ideological cleanups in the country. So finally, he launched the Cultural Revolution. So, according to Mao, the very belief of Mao in regards to revolutionary committees which were formed consisting of men from the People's Liberation Army, the new revolutionary activities and old party and state cadres were set off in various cities and provinces. These revolutionary committees were asked to take over the powers of both the state and the party in given area. The Communist Party, which emerged in China after the Cultural Revolution, was no longer a bureaucratic still frame ruling over the country in its own right, which virtually rendered its all power, which was concentrated in the hand of Mao Zed Dung, who then emerged as reflecting not the will of the Communist Party of China, but the will of the entire Chinese people like a king of God. So, as we found from the above, that in spite of this, Mao established one type of monopoly of authority and power, and in that way, he was primarily interested in building a highly powerful state system based on the fullest use of science and technology. So far as the external and internal contradictions faced by the state was concerned, Mao was believing in dealing with them through the same method of force and violence which was applied by the Russian communists, and as such, Marx, in his own work, whatever he expressed, Mao thrown those Marxism's thoughts in the theory of the mass line, and where exactly he put forward that without a party there can be no revolution, and without a revolutionary party, without a party built on revolutionary theory and style of Marx, so it is, according to Mao, was impossible to lead the working class and the broad masses of the people to defeat imperialism and its running dogs. As in his own word, he described the imperialistic powers and those feudal lords and the capitalists And in that connection, Mao applied it fully to the Chinese context. And according to him, without the efforts of the Chinese Communist Party, without the Chinese Communist as the mainstay of the Chinese people, China can never achieve independence and liberation or industrialization and the modernization of agriculture. Mao was believing in the subordination of the army to the party, so he treated the Chinese Red Army as an armed body for carrying out the political tasks of the revolution. And as such, it was within the framework of total political control by the vast party army complex, ultimately controlled personally by Mao Zedong, that the mass line is required to afford it. So Mao was believing in the principles of democratic centralism, in which centralism always prevails over democracy. So, from the very analysis of the philosophical ideas of Mao Zedong, the founder of the Chinese Communist Party, and we could also say the founder of modern China, we derived the very ideas that he basically laid stress on the theory of violence, and he was outrightly against the counter revolutionaries and those who opposed his ideas, and he even involved the Chinese Red Army into the Communist Party to fulfill his tasks. So he was a champion of method of violence, and also he was in praise of omnipotence of revolutionary war. And to be precise, Mao expressly viewed that political power comes out from the barrel of the gun. So, in People's War, as a new concept developed by Mao, he adopted techniques for consolidation of his own political power. And for that, he launched many such campaigns like the ratification campaign, the 3 anti and the 5 anti campaigns, and also the 100 flowers blossoms campaign, and the great leap forward, and finally the cultural revolution, uh, which you described. Also, he emphasized on the theory of permanent revolution. All of his ideas and the methods adopted by Mao were based on violence, and his ideas of omnipotence of revolutionary war and the monopolization of political power and involvement of the Chinese Red Army into the Communist Party of China, and all his methods proved that by putting all the political opponents and the counter revolutionaries, as per the estimates of The Soviet authorities and the American authorities, and finally several million people were killed and thrown into prison and engaged in labor camps. We could conclude that Mao Zedong, the founder of China's communism, was a brutal dictator.